the picture on the screen is of the 2018 ISM playoff race. It is very easily distinguished by the fact that there is no giant ass spoiler on the rear of the car. And that made all the difference in the end. Hello, I'm back. Welcome to a Phoenix Chase, whatever they called it, race review. Once again, those spoilers are a huge problem. Gonna talk about that just a little bit. Overall, the race very, very bland. We had 2 stage yellows. We had a yellow for, was it Stenhouse with the flat tire, but he didn't really do anything, so it was kind of like not very warranted, that yellow flag. It was kind of iffy. We had a yellow for Chase wrecking, and then we had a yellow for John Hunter Nemechek wrecking at the end of the race. So to go over basically the race, Kyle Busch jumped out to the front. Then, obviously the Stenhouse thing happened. Some split strategy with drivers, staying out. Some come down pit road. Actually got Denny Hamlin the stage 1 victory, so that was great for him. And then stage 2 started, and he didn't have a good restart. And then Joey Logano got to the front. Logano was dominating, and he ended up getting through. And I think he won stage 2. I'm pretty sure. I don't really remember much about this race at all, I'll be honest. I think Logano won stage 2. Hamlin was second or something. Yeah, because Logano won stage 2, and then Hamlin and Chase had an amazing battle for a second. That was the best part of the race, was Chase and Hamlin battling it out, duking it out. In stage 3, Joey dropped like a rock for whatever reason, gave Denny the race lead, and Denny never looked back. At one point, he opened up a 13-second gap over second place Kyle Busch, and that was, by the way, without pit strategy. He just drove away from Kyle Busch by 13 seconds. And then pit stops happened. He came out about 8 seconds ahead. Kyle was tiptoeing through some lap traffic. He fell about 7 seconds ahead. And then John Hunter Nemechek got into the wall. It was a warranted yellow, to be fair. He did hit the wall pretty good. I think, though, however, they probably called it faster than what they would have maybe if some other circumstances were happening. I think the fact that they had a very, very, very horrible run and that nothing was happening and Denny Hamlin was going to just cruise on to victory by over 5 seconds, they probably didn't like that. So no matter what happened, they're going to throw a yellow flag. Although, to be fair, during that run, they had a lot of chances to throw yellow flags. At some points, the 10, the 32, the 15, Joe Nemechek, they were all kind of like slow with some issues and stuff. So they had chances to throw a lot of yellows, but they didn't do it. But so that just kind of makes it seem like this one was more warranted than what it should have been. The only real footage we have of it is from an iPhone camera someone had in the stand. Somehow, some way, they got the crash. Which NBC showed on TV. So, yeah, I guess it was warranted. He got hit the wall pretty good. I never really was like, oh, that's a BS yellow. But, I think that maybe they called it, they were more likely to call it in that scenario than in another scenario for sure. So that set up late race pit stops with 7 cars on the lead lap. So the end of this race, reading 14 or 15 cars on the lead lap, that will forever be wrong. There were 7 cars on the lead lap. All of them came down pit road. And then Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney take 2 tires. They leave 1-2. Steve Letarte in the booth is absolutely furious with the 2-tire call on Denny Hamlin. Doesn't understand it. On the restart, Hamlin just blows away and clears, leads Kyle Busch by about 3/10. Kyle Busch tried to close in, couldn't get it done. Denny Hamlin wins his 6th of the season, and it locks himself into the championship for Homestead. So I think what Gabe Hart's strategy was with the 2 tires was, we need Denny to be out front for the restart. First of all, not only is track position huge with the huge spoilers, but also when Denny wasn't leading on a restart, he never really had a good restart. Once he was able to kind of control it, whatever, he had good restarts. So I think Gabe Hart said was put him out front, put him on the defensive, and he'll get it done. He did. He got it done. And the final 4 will be MTJ, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch. I believe at the start of the playoffs, I predicted those 4 to be in, I'm pretty sure. So that's cool. They were definitely the 4 best, they're just kind of the four most likely. I would think along with Logano. So I'm kind of glad that I got that right. But so I think that's enough about the race. Clutch by Denny as well. You know, they're all kind of, in the booth talking about the last time he came to Phoenix with like a realistic shot at the championship was back in 2010, and that's when he had his issues with fuel and left Phoenix instead of being like what he should have been like plus whatever 70 some above. He ended up plus 15 above, and it cost him the championship at Homestead to Jimmy Johnson in 2010. A lot of people kind of forget this, but Denny Hamlin did make the Final Four in 2014, which he really should not have made at all. I think he was like 12th in points or something. And that was the last time he made the Final Four. So this is only his second Final Four appearance, and he's the only driver in the Final Four without a championship. Kyle Busch back in 2015, Kevin Harvick 2014, MTJ 2017. So we'll either see a second-time champion or we'll see Denny Hamlin get his first Cup trophy. I'll be rooting for Denny Hamlin. I think the man deserves it. He's been through a lot in his career, and I don't want him to be this generation's Mark Martin. He's a really good driver. He has like 37 wins now, could be 38 next race at Homestead. Some weird facts about the Homestead race. Denny Hamlin's birthday is the day after Homestead. So Denny's looking for his 38th win on the final day where he's going to be 38. And his birthday is 11/18/19. 11/18 of 2019, which is all Joga's racing numbers. So if people believe in like that kind of stuff, then pick Denny Hamlin to win the championship. Go bet money on that, because I'm sure that's like some sort of like horoscope or something for the week of Homestead is something about that. So I think that's enough about the race for now. I know at Martinsville, I talked a lot about the big spoilers and how they have ruined short track racing and smaller track racing. I don't want to get into that much detail about it here at Phoenix. But this was the 8th race in 2019 to have single-digit lead changes. I think I'm trying to recall the races, but if I'm remembering correctly, those 8 tracks: Martinsville, Richmond, Sonoma, Pocono, Watkins Glen, Richmond, Martinsville, Phoenix. I'm noticing a trend here, and it is: are you a short track? Are you a shorter track? Or are you a road course? If so, you have been screwed by this package. There's just no reason to have a drafting spoiler at a track like this, and here is the reason why they need to fix it for 2019, okay, or for 2020. This is why. You think about the schedule changes, right? Watkins Glen is what, the fourth to last race before the playoffs next year? It's like one of the last ones leading up, right? Darlington wasn't too great this year either. That opens the chase. Richmond and Bristol are both in the first round. So you have Darlington, Richmond, Bristol. Richmond has been terrible. Bristol has been all right. It's just the same thing, really. But Richmond has been terrible. You look at the second round. That's what? Vegas, Talladega, and the Roval, I think. So that's kind of normal. And then you have Kansas and what else? I don't even remember anymore. I'm just so tired. Like Kansas, Texas, Martinsville. Martinsville is going to determine the championship 4, and we've had 6 lead changes there in 2 races this season. So you gotta fix that. And then Phoenix is going to be the decider for the championship. What we saw here today could very likely be the championship race in 2020, which reminds me a lot of when Homestead was flat and wasn't banked, and that was pretty horrible. And it's not an ISM problem. It's not a Phoenix problem. Last year's Phoenix races were great. Both of them were great. And Phoenix has had good races, I think, every season dating back to whenever. It's not the track's fault. It's the giant spoilers' fault. You think about when Phoenix started to become better. That was 2016 when they went to a lower downforce package. 2015 back to 2013 with the Gen 6 cars were pretty bad at Phoenix because of the big spoilers. So Phoenix is one of those tracks where it thrives on low downforce, and it showed last year with an amazing cutoff for the Final Four race. That was absolutely insane and crazy and spectacular. And then the first race was a very underrated race on the season. So in my mind, NASCAR really needs to actually rethink their decision on keeping the package the same for next season. I really don't know the cost of aluminum in NASCAR, but it can't be thousands of dollars. Like, come on now. There's no way that just cutting the spoiler in half or less than half would make such a huge difference in the cost. Like, there's no way, absolutely no way. NASCAR, right? People blame the team owners for this and say it's all the team owners' fault, but NASCAR is NASCAR. They make the rules, right? We've seen them make rules all by themselves. They don't care what other people think. So NASCAR could have very well said, "Screw you, team owners. We're gonna do what we want to do, and if you don't like it, so be it. Leave." They should have just done that and do that next season. Just tell the team owners, "Hey, fuck off if you don't want it." Okay. This is what we're going by, because you can't put out a product like that for a good amount of races next season. I said it in the Martinsville video. I'll say it again. Tracks that are flat or that are short tracks or road courses, they don't need a drafting spoiler. Okay, Pocono doesn't need it. Loudon doesn't need it. Phoenix doesn't need it. Martinsville doesn't need it. Richmond doesn't need it. All these, Sonoma and Watkins Glen and the Roval don't need it. Okay, tracks that maybe it would work at, Michigan, Auto Club, Atlanta, maybe, Kansas, Chicagoland. There's a few tracks that'll work at, but otherwise, we still have a good amount of tracks that are unique, like Darlington and Indianapolis and Pocono, right? And it's kind of hurt those tracks. Well, it's been like, hey, we've helped the 1.5 mile tracks, but we've ruined everything else. So, I mean, I just, it kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth, knowing that this is going to be the finale race in next season, and they don't want to do anything about it. They don't want to change it at all. They have to change something. 8 lead changes. It had 100 more green flag passes than last year's cutoff race, but that's because last year's cutoff race had 10 cautions, and this one had 5. It had half the yellows as it did last year, and obviously the thing is called green flag passes, so it had to be under the green flag, and there was more green flag laps. So in fact, actually, if I pulled up maybe I think next to it shows the amount per the amount per like the average, like, yeah, it shows like per lap. Okay, so this year's had 4.8 per green flag lap. Last year's had 5 per green flag lap. So yeah. So technically, last year's had better statistics. So that I think that's really all I have to say. It's a simple solution, but it just, I don't know. I don't know why they don't think about it at least. I mean, they've made rules changes to next year that says teams can't go to R&D for a certain amount of time. They only have a certain amount of hours, a limited amount of hours. So, I mean, if they're so worried about teams spending R&D on the different size spoilers, there's your solution. You've already limited, simulator time and stuff like that. So, I mean, come on now, just change something. That there ain't no reason to keep it like this for next year. I mean, they were so quick to jump off the 2018 and 2017 rules package so fast, and now that's their package. They can't admit any wrong. And I understand that they don't want to do it because it's the last year of the Gen 6 car and it would be a waste of money, but there's no way that aluminum spoilers cost that much money. There's absolutely no way that something that minuscule costs thousands of dollars that would put teams in bankruptcy. Like, we're already running different horsepower engines with the tapered spacers. We're running different size tapered spacers. Does that not cost money? Are the tapered spacers free for some reason? And we're also applying PJ1 to all these racetracks. Does that not cost money as well? You know, we applied PJ1 to Phoenix for no reason. It didn't really help at all. You know, we didn't need PJ1 back when we had last year's package. We didn't need PJ1 at Pocono. We didn't need PJ1 at all these different racetracks. We put PJ1 at so many racetracks now that it's just like normal, right? And that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a Band-Aid to try and help, but we're putting it everywhere now. That's bad. That's when you realize that, hey, maybe this isn't working out. Maybe we should try something different. But NASCAR can't admit that when it's their stuff that is being criticized. I think that's it. I think that's all I really have to say. Homestead is next, the finale. 3 Joe Gibbs racing cars, 1 Stewart-Haas racing car. So we'll see if JGR can get another championship. They have won 18 of the 35 races this season. Only Hendrick Motorsports has matched that. Back in 2007, they won 18 races. So if Joe Gibbs Racing goes out and wins at Homestead, they will then tie Hendrick Motorsports' record, or they will break Hendrick Motorsports' record for most wins by a team in the season in the modern era. If not, it'll stay tied. But a fun fact, actually, I also want to bring this up. I feel like the last few seasons have kind of been, or I guess last year only, was a lot of like kind of just like the previous season 10 years before. For example, in 2008 versus 2018, right? There was technically the big 3 in both those seasons. In 2008 was Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, and Jimmy Johnson, I guess. And then in 2018 it was Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and MTJ. And, you know, criticized, the season was criticized by fans. Both seasons were for, you know, lack of winners and a lack of parity, right? Obviously, in 2018, there was a huge lack of parity among the 12 chase drivers. They came from 4 different teams. It was Roush, Richard Childress, Hendrick, and Gibbs. And now in 2019, right? In 2009, Hendrick Motorsports got 1, 2, 3 in the points. In 2019, Joe Gibbs goes in with 3 drivers fighting for inside the top 4, so it's possible they could get 1, 2, 3 at Homestead for the points. Ironically, in both those seasons, they had a teammate that was underwhelming. In 2009, it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. While his teammates got 1, 2, 3 in points in 1 races, he got 25th in points, and his closest to a win was a second at Talladega because Carl Edwards got flipped on the last lap. This year, Eric Jones hasn't really been great. I don't think he's ever been top 10 in points. He's down right now last in the playoff grid. He has 1 win to show for it. His teammates have 4, 7, and 6 apiece. So, you know, it just kind of resembles. You know, Eric Jones wasn't technically as bad as Dale Jr., although maybe you could make a case since now there's less competitive teams than there were back then, so maybe Jones would be down like 20th in points. But just some resemblance there between the 2 seasons. But that's it. We'll see who wins the championship. I picked Kyle Busch at the beginning of the season, but now my heart says I want Denny Hamlin to win. So we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video.